Oh my, it's good to be back. We enjoyed a little change of scenery and survived another marathon and just enjoyed a time away. And I understand you had some great services here while we were gone. Our guys did a wonderful job, and everybody served so well with Summer Spectacular and then working downstairs and getting rooms finished. I'm so pleased at the progress. That's great. Today we are in 2 Samuel, way back in the Old Testament, 2 Samuel, and I need you to open that Bible in the pew. If you didn't bring yours, if you brought yours, turn to it. That would be great. 2 Samuel, it's page 232 in the pew Bible there. If you would just grab that and 232 and just put your finger in it. It'll be a little while before we really get to it. I want to talk to you first, but for a little bit. And if you didn't get the outline, hold up your hand. Our ushers will hand you one. You know, one thing that we love to teach the children is that we serve a God who hears and answers prayer. And isn't it exciting to see them learning those main points and that God keeps His promises, and we serve that kind of God. And we have seen it over the years that God works in such a marvelous way in these last 36 years. And since we started years ago in a home, and we just seen God answer many prayers and do wonderful things. And David saw it in his life, many wonderful answers to prayer. And then sometimes there's a prayer that's not answered, and maybe that's what you're thinking. Well, I've got a prayer I've been praying, and it's not been answered. And David had that experience. There was a prayer in his life that wasn't answered, and we'll see it today. Well, why does God sometimes not answer prayer? And what is the key to answered prayer? And how do we see our prayers answered? I want to give you a key to answered prayer. God doesn't answer all our prayers the way we want Him to. He works in mysterious ways, but oftentimes the problem is on our end. And so what is there? Is there a key? We have to ask ourselves, is there a key to answered prayer? I want to tell you a little story that might help you to have some insight and some understanding. About almost 20 years ago, I had a Nissan car. That was the car we had for our family. It was a Nissan, and it was, I think they called it a Sentra or something, and I don't know what they called it, but it wasn't much. And it little four-cylinder, and it had buku miles on it, and it was, just wasn't much of a car, small little thing. And I still remember we made a trip to Kansas City in it, our whole family. I have a sister down there. And we were coming back, and my kids were growing up then a little bit. They weren't little, and they were complaining about how small the back seat was. And it was small, and they were all three squished back there. And we had some trouble with it. I thought we'd never get home. And I just had a headache of a car. And in those days, I had a guy in our church who was just a wonderful man. He was a deacon in our church, and in fact, that's his son that was just up here a little bit ago, who's our children's pastor. His name was Rocky Sunderman. His son Shane is our children's pastor today. But Rocky, God had really changed his life in such a miraculous way when he came to our church, and he was just an incredible man, just an amazing guy. And he was really known for his generosity. He was just always giving. And I never saw Rocky that he didn't have in his pocket a whole bunch of hard candy, that individual wrapped hard candy. And he was always giving the kids candy, and everybody loved to be around Rocky because, you could always get a piece of candy or something. And Rocky was always looking out for me. I don't know what it was, but I can remember many a time when we were leaving for a vacation or leaving to go home down to Oklahoma to see my wife's parents. And Gail and I had sit down at the table and tried to figure out, okay, how can we, let's see, we got grocery money, we can use that. We tried to figure out how we could make the trip. And time and again, it would be a service, and after the service, I'm shaking hands, and Rocky would come over and shake my hand, And when he would reach out and shake my hand, there'd be something in it. And it'd usually be a couple $20 bills, and Rocky would say, "You're going to need that." I'd say, "Rocky," and he was right. And oftentimes we would stop, maybe get a bite to eat with the kids, and we would tell them, somebody at church made this possible. And a lot of times they'd kind of grin and say, "We know who, Dad." But he was that way. And Rocky had a Cadillac. And he would loan it to me now and then when the staff was going someplace. If the pastors were going to Omaha or something, he'd let me take his car and take them all over in that, Well, anyway, I had this old Nissan and barely made it home from Kansas City in it. And then I got an invitation to do a wedding in Boonville, Indiana. We had Greg Fletcher and Billy Winsett in our church. They were students at the university, and Greg played football, and Billy played on the national championship volleyball team, and she was selected Athlete of the Year in America. I mean, just an incredible honor. And they were a wonderful couple, and are a wonderful couple. Talked to Greg this week on the phone, and they just grew spiritually, and God did some great things in their lives while they were here. And so they asked me to come to Boonville, Indiana. Boonville's way down by Evansville, right on the line, Kentucky line, and southern Indiana. They asked me to come and do the wedding. And so I thought, I said, "Well, sure, I'd love to." But I thought, how am I going to drive this little old Nissan all the way, out there and back? And so the more I thought about it, I thought, I just wonder if I couldn't ask Rocky, for the keys to his Cadillac, And the more I thought about it, the more I thought it was a good idea. And so I did. I said, "Rocky, I have a ministry opportunity, but it's a long ways away, and I wonder if you would float me your car." And he didn't hesitate. Now, I tell you that story, I'll tell you why. And if you ever take Cadillac on a trip, it ruins you for your car. It just ruins you, And I think the key to me asking Rocky to loan me his Cadillac was I had a relationship with Rocky. I mean, we'd gone way back. Years had gone by, and we'd worked elbow to elbow in a lot of meetings, and we had a relationship. And I don't think that if just anybody would have walked up and asked, as generous as Rocky was, I don't think if anybody would have walked up and asked for the keys to his Cadillac that he would have just handed them over, And so here's what I'm saying to you, and I want you to fill in this blank. The key to answered prayer, I believe more than anything else probably, is your relationship with God. The key to answered prayer is your relationship with God. So many times we come to God and we need a blessing, or we need the keys to the Cadillac or something, We have a need and we begin to express it to God, and God would love to meet that need. But he says, I really don't have that kind of relationship with you. You haven't developed that kind of relationship with me. And that's, to me, is the point of the story. You have to have a relationship with somebody to come up to them and ask them, "Can I borrow the keys to your car? Can I have your car?" I mean, all I want to do is take it on a 1,000-mile trip. That's all. And you better have a relationship with that person to ask a big request like that.